In my 9 years as a golf performance coach, I've seen well over 1,000 swings. Each swing is unique, and although there are some tips and tricks that may be universal, in this video I break down a single-digit handicap swing in a virtual lesson. I identify in this video one major swing fault that is crippling his consistency. There are so many key points to take away from this breakdown, but I specifically target 3 tweaks that'll probably make a major difference in your game too, even if you have zero experience playing. The problems that most people present are technical in nature, but can't be fixed without body adjustments. As somebody who plays at a scratch handicap or 70s to 80s golfer, you would definitely know this. Your mobility is extremely evident. But what I'm talking about is basically people who go lesson to lesson to lesson and don't improve because their body always goes back to compensation factors. So if you have the ability to get in the positions that you need to get in, and most of your issues are technical, then you're not going to have an issue. It's going to be lightning quick. You're going to be able to make those adjustments. But for those of us who aren't mobile and we're trying to get technical and you can't get into those positions, or a pro gets you into those positions like training wheels, once the training wheels are off, you just fall on your face, basically. So let's dive in. I'm looking at 2 of your down the line videos. I made one with a swing path just so you can see what I'm talking about. But to start, I always start with posture lines. And I believe your posture looks pretty good. But for now, we'll go ear to hip, hip to knee, knee to ankle. Great posture, wouldn't change a thing. Very athletic, balanced, clearly in the middle of your feet. I like it. I would draw a line, obviously swing plane right through the club shaft and then through your shoulders. Little thin, little upright, but I've seen it before. It's not the end of the world. Just depends on what we see. Put one right on the glutes. And then we'll draw a line where your head's at, see if there's any movement there. Okay. I love the trigger. I love the weight trigger. I'm a huge fan of that. I do it myself. Just getting that leg to start, lower body starts the swing, and then the club drags back after that. So clearly your waist shifting already, which is fantastic. This is pretty much like in the first 25% of your swing, this is where you're already dead for the most part, based on how fast you swing the club. So that club head being inside of your hands, I don't really have an example, but if I were to take the club back and the club is inside of my hands, what should be happening here is when you take it back, the club head should be pretty much right on line with my hands. What I would want you to do is get the club itself, the shaft, to be parallel to your toe line there. That'd be a smooth take back to get the club shaft parallel to the ground, but also kind of parallel to where your feet are at to aim at target. Because from there, you're just going to go straight up. You actually get to this position in your backswing, but not without consequence of taking it so far inside. You kind of go here and then up. And what you're doing is just basically adding force to a swing that is fast in nature. So if you're seeing inconsistencies in ball striking, or just not being able to be repeatable on different surfaces, terrain, things like that, that is probably why. So that's a huge piece right there. If I go to the top of your backswing, I'm going to address this, but it's not a huge issue. So see how far your head has now dropped off of that initial posture line. Joaquin Niemann is a huge example of that. Like, Will Zalatoris, I've seen people do this. This is not a huge issue. So if someone says like, oh, you're coming way off, I'd rather you go down than up. So that's not a problem for me. And that's a great backswing position. So let me slow down for a second. Your posture lines are perfect. Your butt's still on the back line. Heads come down there, which is fine. But what's interesting is, for me, I always relate the swing to an equation like math. If whatever happens on one side of the equation has to happen on the other, just like algebra, right? So if you don't know how to sequence your power correctly in this position, again, it's not a bad position. We would just have to learn one thing to fix it. A lot of people in this position will jump out of their power and not keep their chest down and swing through it. So Joaquin Niemann's a perfect example of coming down off that line like that, but he stays there and everything just releases through where he's at. He's a very strong core. I remember from your swing, we'll see in a second, you kind of just jump right out of that and then your power goes bye-bye. So Great backswing position if you could hold it and rotate around it. So from there, you continue to rotate. It's a perfect lower body start sequence. Hands drop down into the slot. But the damage was already done. I'm going to show you in the next video with the kind of loopy uptake. And then from here comes you start to go up. You're losing your connection with the ground. All your power comes from the ground. So that awesome trigger you had to start your backswing power into that trail hip is now starting to go away before you hit the ball. Swings right in plane, literally perfect. But you popped right out of that, and then your chest is like more up, right? It's not hovering the ball as much, and probably got a little cut shot, fade, maybe powerless at times. So this one I put it in my little system. I have a swing plane that's going to be attached to the club head here. So it's going to show you how far inside that club head goes. And yeah, just like on the other side of your body, that should be covering your body. And then from there, pretty much go straight up into where your backswing is. That way, when you rotate, it just drops down. The club path shallows, and you'll make better contact with the ball. Either hit a perfectly straight shot, maybe have a little draw. So you're just adding forces that aren't necessarily need to be there. I mean, this is one for the mobility that you have. This is one of the more over the top swings that I've seen in the systems that I have, or the swings that I put through my system. You can see it. It's clear as day. Big jump, not hovering the ball with the chest, kind of coming out of that power. I'd want to see those two orange lines more squished together. If you look at any pro's swing, they're very close, if not a little under that initial line. So that's pretty over the top. And when I was telling one of my last lessons, when you think over the top, you probably don't see it in your swing, because when people and coaches address over the top, they're always like showing you that huge choppy motion. It's not necessarily the case. It can happen at takeback where you're coming too far inside. You can't repeat that. You can't repeat that swing on the way down. And we want to keep it as one plane as possible for the least amount of error, least resistance. So when you hit this, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to go right unless you have a closed club face and pull it. I wasn't able to tell where your club face was at based on the swing speed. You have a lot of potential here. It's pretty much a really easy fix, but you're going to have to feel it. It's going to be much more difficult to feel something during the swing that I tell you than through exercise. If your body feels it, your core will be engaged. You'll feel the ground a little bit better because you'll have to maintain balance. The swing, it gets a little difficult because there's forces at play, centripetal, and your body goes all over the place until you see it on video, and then you're like, wow, it didn't feel like that. So breaking it down to a simple body level will really help with that. You got the right coach. That's exactly what I do. Good swing. Look forward to working with you.